Hey, what's going on, guys? John Shea here with the No Shame Income Vlog, and I wanted to share something really interesting that I recently did here this past week. I actually decided to go out and post a really controversial kind of discussion in a bunch of agency Facebook groups, like digital entrepreneur groups, people that are going out there and doing a lot of client-based work. So what I did is I actually posted a question asking which type of really agency would they want to run. And of the two options I gave them, the first was basically someone that would go out there and basically kind of run things solo and just work with outsourced vendors and partners, things like that, and have a lower amount of income, but have more freedom and no responsibility from employees. The second option was having an office, having probably 5 to 7 employees, and making more money, but obviously doing everything in-house and having just overall more responsibility, a little bit more control of all the work, and all the above, right? So what I want to do today is actually kind of walk you guys through some of the answers that people gave and give you guys really towards the end of the video a little bit of my own take on this and which option I actually prefer. But before we dive into today's video, be sure to throw me a thumbs up on the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification, as I'm going to be releasing new videos each and every week. And if you guys have any questions or feedback on this video, feel free to go back and actually leave me a comment on the video, and I'll be sure to reply back to your comment. So let's dive into today's video. All right, guys, so I'm over at my desktop and I wanted to kind of reread the topic that I put together here, and I've had some really interesting feedback on this, posting this in several groups. Some groups even, it went almost a little bit viral. You can see this one has almost 80 comments, and this has been really interesting just to see what people actually had to say about this. And I think I've almost had a fairly mixed bag. I didn't go and like add up the answers or responses in every single group, but I went and posted this in about 10 different groups. So let me read out the full scenario. So I said, which scenario would you rather be in as an agency owner / digital consultant? Scenario 1 is you make $10,000 per month with clients. Now, again, I had a few people sort of get a little iffy on me with this, but let's just say this is net profit. So this is after all expenses, everything said and done. Like you literally have $10,000 coming in all said and done. You have 0 employees that you personally manage, so you have no employees. The bulk of your work is communicating with clients once a month to share reports on fulfilled work and results. So this could be doing SEO, Facebook ads, websites, or whatever it is. You have vendors and outsourced partners that are doing 99% of all the fulfillment. This means that you've got other guys like you sell a website, you've got them doing the entire website building the whole thing, they're handling all of it. Same with Facebook ads. They're building the ads, they're split testing the ads, everything. In this case, you work out of a home office and you have the choice of what to do with your days. You could watch Netflix, you could play video games, you could leave and just go shopping in the middle of the day if you want. You have no real responsibility. You could pretty much do whatever you feel like doing. In scenario 2, you make $30,000 per month, and this is basically, again, all said and done after the fact. You manage 7 employees and you oversee the entire operation. Now, again, the $30,000 is after you've already paid your employees and you're paying for your office. All the fulfillment is done in-house with employees only, and you don't use any outside vendors or partners. This means that all of those employees are the people, say writing content or running PPC campaigns or managing clients or doing all these other things, right? They're doing all of that work for you. You work out of an office space setup and you pretty much own it and you have it set up the way you want. It's not like you're in some shared space. This is your own office. You can put whatever decorations you want on the wall and paint it the way you want it. You can pretty much do whatever you want with the office itself. You also, the income I did mention here would have to pay for the office space rent, utilities, and employee salaries, but let's just say that wasn't the case, right? Or give or take, this is how a lot of people have been responding to this. I said, well, I realized there could be variations of these scenarios, services offered, responsibilities you have. I'm curious which you'd pick of these 2 scenarios. So let's kind of go through and see what people actually had to say. I'm just going to highlight some of the more popular Facebook groups that responded to this. There were 4 of them that it seemed to get a little bit of traction on. This guy said, I will go with scenario 1 any day, got a lot of likes. Scenario 1, move away from the agency industry. This guy said he was going to move out of it, and then now you've got 2 people being like, what are you going to do instead? And he never responded. This guy said number 2, and they said they'd like to keep more accountable to grow. They're doing number 1, I'll be doing too many non-productive things with my free time and I'll be able to close bigger local clients with a professional workplace. So this is kind of like one of those things, in my opinion, people like believe that if they have an office, they're going to be able to close better. Like I've literally sat here in my pajamas and been like, I have this little thing here that I actually use to like I'll put this on my back and I like roll this on a wall to like iron out and massage my back. And I literally had one of my vendors closing like a $4,000 SEO client, and I was sitting here standing up listening to the conversation while rubbing out knots in my back with this thing. Like you could literally be sitting here in your pajamas and doing whatever you want. So I think when people have this mindset of like, oh, I'm gonna close bigger clients when I have a better workspace, like that really doesn't matter at all. And then people are kind of discussing, well, I need to be doing at least this much money a month, and who needs 7 employees to do this? That's not enough. Number one, first one sounds like this guy got into a bit of an argument. First one sounds like a bunch of white label BS. The second one, if you've got 7 employees and you're only bringing 30K, you're hosed, hired too many people. So he's getting like really technical. And then this person was like, what's wrong with white labeling? And I kind of like came in and said, well, let's say that the profit was 30K. And I said, nothing wrong with white labeling. And this turned into like almost an argument. And then this guy was like, oh, you need to know the ins and outs of marketing before you go and put your clients' money in someone else's hands. Basically, I commented back and I said, I used to think that this was true regarding what you said. I still think learning how to sell is more important than learning how to create ads or do stuff like building backlinks. It's just a matter of partnering with the right people who have proven results. So don't sit there and think that like, I need to go out there and learn how to like become like this amazing SEO in order to sell that as a service. There's so many businesses out there that know so little that are selling. It doesn't mean it's ethical if you're actually not getting people results, but if you're able to partner with the right people who are going to get your clients results, then obviously it's a scenario where you can make quite a bit of money and this can all work out. So you don't have to like know everything. And that's another touch point I wanted to hit on here, because I think it's stupid when people are like, you need to know everything about marketing to go sell it. Like, I just think that is the stupidest thing. And then this guy was kind of arguing on my point, but I was more commenting on what this guy Michael had said. And I commented back about that. This girl obviously was saying she wants to white label number one. Obviously, number one agency model in today's world is an agile one, high profit, low expense. This guy says, let's say I'm doing number one, would people buy my course? I feel like it's not enough money. And I said, yeah, I've sold a lot of courses, so I was kind of being a little snarky there because it is something that obviously you can do and make a lot of money with. This guy, Brian, said number two means you're not only taking care of yourself, but 7 other families. So let's go scenario 2 and scale. It's bigger impact, except I hire someone else to be there. So, I mean, this guy's kind of got the right mindset around hiring someone else to be there. I've seen a lot of people comment and say, like, get a manager, and then they'll just do everything. But I still, in reality, feel like you still uphold a lot of responsibility, even if you do that. And it's not like you could necessarily just, like, walk out of the business and let all these other people run it. I mean, in reality, I suppose you could, but I don't know. I don't know that I would almost rather, if I'm going to do that, like, why not just go and find a vendor who's already doing that? It's like almost like less work and less overhead of you dealing with all of that pain of trying to manage all these people yourself and make sure that they're doing the work. Whereas you could find someone else who's essentially doing that and already has the business set up that way. And that's how I look at vendors, right? If I had a vendor that had 30 or 40 employees and then they have managers and they're managing everything, why don't I just go work with the vendor? Why would I go hire all my own people and do that when I could just hire the vendor who already has all those systems and processes in place, right? So that's kind of my thought. But what I did like that he put here, and this is one of the only times I saw someone say this, was that they would be taking care of 7 other families. So I thought that was kind of interesting because obviously they're not just thinking about the money or the profits or the other things. They're actually thinking, hey, I'm creating jobs for people and putting people into work. So let's see, what else? Number 1, all day, every day. Scenario 2 is the dream, but I like scenario 1 when you put it that way, a combination of both. Number 2, number 1 all day. I did number 2 already with 25 employees. Now, this is what's been interesting, you guys, is there's a lot of people in here who are like, number 2, and they're saying it would be amazing to have an office and all these employees, but you can kind of tell like some of them have actually never done that, or they're like trying to get to that goal. And there's people in here, I've seen at least 2 of them, this guy was one of them, who said, I'm doing number 2 and I did this already and it sucks. Like this guy says it right here. I had 25 employees and I asked them what they were doing now. And he said, I'm working from home, outsourcing as much as possible. Time freedom is worth way more than the latter. Too many headaches with employees and too much babysitting. And I kind of commented that I basically opened my own co-working space. You guys may have seen that other video. And we have a LAN center where basically we've got people playing video games. We don't have any employees, but a bunch of office people who come in and pay me, and other people who are there playing video games on the weekends. So again, like it's an office that I can work out of, but I don't have actual employees, right? This guy says I've been doing number 1 for a few years, but struggle finding good partners at reasonable costs, which has left me with the work, which I'm more capable of doing. now leaning towards number 2 to specialize in a specific industry and scale. So this guy obviously hasn't taken the time to really dig in and find good partners. It was funny because some guy came in here and was like, "You found the right partner, I'm here to save you." And then some other guy said he could do it. And then this person was getting technical again, not possible, not plausible, whatever. And I kind of got into it a little bit here. I talked about how when I used to work for an agency, the owner, and this is true, you guys, he was basically in the number 2 position. When he left, the employees would actually get like awkward. Like they'd be like, "Why isn't he here? You know, like why isn't he here today?" And it was like everyone was silent, and you could kind of feel like there was this vibe of like, here we are doing all the work for him, and he's not even here. You know, like he'd leave for a week or something. And I don't know. I felt like this guy built himself a job. And if you guys have been on my email list, or maybe you're already on my email list, if there was an email I sent out about this, one of my first emails, I talked about this in a story. And it just like, I don't know, I just never saw the appeal of having all these employees to me. It was not exciting. That didn't seem like something that was like a dream come true to me. Some people really want that. They like the delegation. Not me. I don't like that. I think that sucks. This guy said, not really what I said, basically, not really what I saw as a long-term vision. He got so strict on the employees. I remember this, you guys. He was getting pissed because like clients were like dissatisfied or always calling up, pissed off about not having good like work done. And people used to sit there in the office and they'd have earbuds in because it was so quiet. It was like you literally can't sit there in silence. Everyone was sitting there in silence. All you hear is for like 2 hours. Like all you hear is keyboards, and not a single person has even said a word. And people would listen to their headsets during the day. So eventually he got so pissed. He's like, no one's allowed to listen to music. And he shut everyone down. He was like, no one's allowed to listen to music. And it got so bad, you guys, that I thought I was going to have to raise my hand and be like, "Hey boss, can I like go take a crap in the bathroom?" Like it was just this bad. It was so strict. And I absolutely hated it. Like I just couldn't stand to be there. Yeah, it was pretty bad all around. And this person commented back there like, "Sounds like he created a poor work environment for his employees and himself." This person said they enjoyed delegation. So this was interesting. Obviously, that would be a good reason if you do own an office, like you like delegating, doing all these things. Like I don't really care about that, right? I just want to get my client a result, have them pay me every month, be happy with the results, and continue to pay every month. So if you have that going on, then you know, I don't really need to be delegating people. I just want the income checks coming in and basically making the money. I don't really need to be telling people how to do their jobs. I just want to have the results come in, right? I don't like everything being on just me. So, you know, this kind of really depends on your personality. Have a good team, processes, you can have a highly efficient machine, give you more flexibility to focus on growth. So again, each to their own. Number 1, as is. Number 2, if revenue exceeded $55,000 a month, especially if I have full-time employees that are getting all the benefits they deserve. So obviously, again, someone else who would care about employees. Number 2, in-house team means better communication, get to work with people you actually like, trustworthy, easier to scale. Stage 1, try my hardest to reach number 2. I'll be there soon. Like this guy is like motivated to get to the office. This guy who runs the group, interestingly, said number 1, help me achieve number 1. Let's see, realistic, 9 to 5 needs to be changed to full-time office hours. There's no realistic scenario I can think where I'm both in the boss and making $30K a month, yet I'm required to be in an office specifically those hours. So with the adjustment to make this a realistic scenario, number 2 would be the easy pick. Okay, probably number 1, until I realized I'm being selfish with my expertise, live with more purpose, and give back to the world. So there's a lot of people in here who like want to give back and help families and do all this stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit selfish, you guys, but I don't know. Yeah, sure, I could go make like 5 jobs or something, but I guess I don't know. I'd rather just have it easier on my life in general. I don't really need to go hire 5 people and feel like I'm giving back to the world. Seen this post in another group. Yep, I posted it in another group. We're number 2 with 11 people, but I got to go shop in the afternoon today. No reason I have to be there 9 to 5. Even our people aren't required to be in the office 9 to 5. They can work anywhere as long as they hit their daily outcomes, but we still have an office. So this guy's obviously pretty chill. You know, you're not going to have a boss in every circumstance that's like that. Having the structure of number 2 with the flexibility is number 1 is doable with the right systems in place. So, I mean, obviously this guy's cool, but I don't know, like, yeah, I could say, okay, I work for this agency, or, you know, even as the boss, I could say, hey, I have all these employees, but I'm not going to be like, yo, employee, hey, it's 10 o'clock. Do you want to go watch a Netflix movie? Like, it's just not going to happen, you guys. Like, I think this guy's blowing a little bit of steam because, you know, he says, oh, they have to reach their daily outcomes. And I don't know, like, what if I don't want to have a daily income? What if I just want to go and today I just feel like playing Call of Duty all day, like, and I just don't want to do any work. Like, you can't do that if you're in this guy's shoes. You just can't. So I don't know. That's my take. Let's see what some other threads have to say. I know this is long, but I thought this would be really interesting, you guys, to go over what people had to say about this. Someone said I would choose number one. This guy was like, kind of going off clients and specific stuff. This guy was saying you'll go bankrupt. Like, he's, I don't know, they're just getting so technical. I basically just said, okay, you're paying for all the clients. Let's say everything is covered. And that you're all is good. He said you basically are making net profit. Everything else is covered. The office expenses, the salaries, all that stuff. And he said much more profit. I don't think I can live on $10K a month net profit anymore now that I don't have a family, to be honest, more control. I don't like working with outsourced partners. So I kind of jokingly, I was like, I've seen a few comments like that. I feel like people must have a mortgage that's 3 times mine or something. And he's like, my mortgage is $2,500 a month. Healthcare costs are $2,700 a month. Add in childcare, a car payment, food, clothing, stuff, money in the market for retirement, kids' college. It's a lot. Scenario 1 would probably work later in life, but I make over $300K a year now and wouldn't be able to go down to $100K. So this guy's clearly, he's doing really well for himself and has some insane expenses. $2,700 a month for healthcare. Oh my God, I'm just like crying over here reading that. Let's see what other people had to say. I don't know why it's like Facebook froze up on me. Okay, here we go. This one got some interesting stuff. So this was the actual admin of the group. I don't know if he runs the group or not, but I think he's one of the owners. He said number 2, profit would be 30K. Who wouldn't want an extra 20K? So it's like all about, making that extra money. And I kind of talked about conflicting feedback in other groups. And he's like, oh, well, if you're making the 30K extra, you could just spend 8K and go and hire a manager, and now you'd have 22K in extra profit. So he seemed to think that, I said, basically, I told him, I was like, look, key thing I mentioned is that I would want 0 responsibility, but that's just me. And I was like, I don't want to manage people. I don't even want to manage a manager. And he said, yeah, you're right. You could make more, but you could still come with some form of additional responsibility. Granted, for some people, they might really want that to grow a team, etc. So I'm trying to a little bit see it from his side so it doesn't turn into like this argument. But it's kind of become that. And he's like, you have more responsibility in the first scenario. You're communicating with clients. You still have to manage the outsourced fulfillment. So this is the thing. You still have to manage the outsourced fulfillment. If you guys do this the right way, if you have vendors set up in the right way, you actually don't have to manage anything. So the way that he's thinking about this is completely wrong. And I think this is like a mindset thing and how you approach fulfillment. So this is just dead wrong. So a lot of people are going into this with the wrong mentality. Communicating with clients, I just had a call with one of my clients yesterday. In fact, this guy, I was doing the comments back and forth. One of my clients called me back. I had called him earlier in the day. He called me back later in the day. I literally had a 15-minute conversation with him. He was telling me about like some funny stuff about how he had to go to court, and it was like joking around. It was almost like a friend just called me on the phone to have a chat. And he's like, yeah, resend me the invoice. And he was all happy with everything. We set up something last month that like is getting him more leads through his website. And he's just like super pumped. So he went and paid, everything's good. And I said, I'll call you in December. So literally I had a 10-minute conversation. I got paid $500. And that was literally the only thing I've done all month for this. My outsourced vendor, my partner, is doing all the work. So I don't know. I just think like this guy saying that is going to be more work than having a manager and all these other employees and paying salaries and having HR and dealing with problems. Like, what if my manager decides to like go do something like I don't know, like he's just doing something unethical, like at work, like does something he's not supposed to be doing. Now I have to deal with that as a problem, right? Or they decide, oh, I need time off, and now I've got to cover for them. Like all these other things that there's just going to be responsibility involved. Definitely a lot more than making a quick phone call and letting a client know that, hey, we got you great results this month. You're moving up. I just sent you the invoice. How's everything going? That's it, right? It's super easy. So I don't know. I just, I kind of shared again a little bit about how that agency I was working with was stressing out over some of this stuff. Scenario 1, well, I have less, like you mentioned, I have time for video games. Yep, so that's a big one. Number two. And then this person had a big response. I think, again, it's like the mentality of how people approach this. The only time scenario 1 is going to be better is before you get to scenario number 2. Over the short term, if you don't build a business, you own a job. So, I don't know. Like, I look at number 2 as more like you're building a job, whereas number 1 just sounds like more freedom. So that's not better than actually having a job, other than you make the decisions, your profit share has less limitations than wages. Building a business or asset requires you to use other people's time to leverage wealth. In addition, a sole trader number 1 has extremely limited tax exemptions, so you have to purchase things out of personal income rather than buying them as a business expense. So I mean, I don't know, I wrote off everything I spent, like web hosting, paying my outsourcers, all that stuff I wrote off on my taxes last year, and I'm running it solo. So now that they're getting into like this whole tax discussion, I mean, I don't know, that's a bunch of BS because I wrote off all that stuff. Nobody can be financially free with scenario one strategy over the medium or long term. That approach has got employee mindset written all over it. Read Rich Dad Poor Dad and get over managing people, because if you want to be a successful entrepreneur that has any chance of becoming financially free, then managing people is a fucking gigantic part of the role. I mean, you don't really have to like, I don't know. I think people are looking at this in the wrong way, and that's what really, it kind of upsets me, because it's really all in your head of how you approach this, right? So if you guys are still, I know this is a long video. I've kind of gone off a little bit of a rant here because my own views and opinions on this stuff, I think, has a lot to do with how people approach it in their head, right? So this woman is thinking that the only way to do it is like, I must have employees and I must have all these people managing it. And I just think that is a really poor like mindset way of looking at it. Like, I literally have a vendor right now who has 40 employees, and I only talk to the one person. They handle everything. They help me with sales. They communicate with my clients. I basically pass the workload to them. I even have my clients talking with them and communicate with them. And I don't have to manage him. I don't have to manage any of his employees. He handles all that. He's doing all that stuff, right? He already established a business doing some of this stuff. Maybe he prefers to do that. Now, again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily something like, for some people, this might be what you want. It's like the type of personality, person that you are. Years ago, I read a personality book called Personality Plus, and there are specific personality types that fit the role of boss or manager. And I can tell you, I am far from that person that wants to manage people. I'm more of like the grunt worker kind of guy. And I try to figure out, like, how can I get out of that position where I'm the guy doing all that crappy grunt work. Like, I don't want to be sitting around like building backlinks all day. What if I focus my effort on building relationships and making sales, and then I find people who are more of that boss mentality, maybe are doing some of this stuff. So anyway, I don't know. This is just my take on this stuff, you guys. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to change my mindset on this. I've had other people like argue with me on it before, and that's why I wanted to bring this up. I kind of did it in a controversial way. I wasn't like, at the end of the post, I wasn't like, I'm number one all the way and this is the way it needs to be. You know, like, because some people I know, like, you know, this person's all about savvy about debt and taxes, all this stuff. I mean, I don't know. So there's one more thread here, but this is kind of going on. I'll just quickly do this one. This person was like 100% scenario one. They posted, I know who she is. She posted like a photo of her like in a hot spring or something, like swimming. So it's pretty funny. This person said scenario two with remote people. Number one. This person, I thought this was interesting. They were like, I'm aiming for number one, but there's a lot of time before getting to the outsourcing part. And I'm like, what the hell? What do you mean there's a lot of time getting the outsource? That doesn't even make sense. Like, if you're going to outsource, that's the whole point of saving the time. So I'm just like, what do you, like, it basically is like, I'm just like, what do you mean? So they go, I've done it with social media. Yes, they will create content and schedule, but I have to give them a plan, detailed instructions on what to create, then correct mistakes. Clients I always want something else added in after it's all set. So this person is obviously kind of looking at the outsourcing like they're kind of hiring a bunch of employees. And that is one way to do it. And if you do it in the right way, obviously if you do things that the clients will be happy, then yes, you could systemize that and have them doing the correct work. They're running into problems where their employees are going and trying stuff, and then the clients are going, I don't like that, that wasn't good enough, and then they have to now go back and fix it. So now they're kind of jumping back in and doing some of this stuff. So I basically said, hey, this sounds more like hiring VAs and staff versus just finding like a company or a vendor that handles that, right? It would be the difference between you just going on Upwork and saying, hey, I need someone to help me manage the social media, can you run this stuff? Versus finding like maybe a company that's been doing this, has processes, has the systems, knows exactly how to do it, they're gonna do a really good job, they have proven results, and they've got like 10 employees that's all they do, right? So it's really the difference. Let's say you need to hire a writer, you go and hire that writer, and they're going out and doing all this work, they're writing, you know, all the content for you, versus going and hiring like a company that has a big team of writers and managers managing those writers, and they're like upholding them to certain standards and making sure the content's really good. This is like one of the biggest things I've noticed. So I don't know, I thought I would share some of this with you guys. You know, this was interesting. I've done both. In scenario one, wins, hands down. I was doing $70,000 per month at our peak and had a team of 20 in the office. The stress to meet targets, to pay all the team, and overheads nearly killed me. I made the decision to completely reverse the monster that I had built. Now have 3 staff and several contractors, putting the brakes on was the hardest part mentally, logistically, but it's the best thing I have ever done. So here's a second person coming in, no one else. All these people are like, number two. Even this guy was like, or a woman was like, I've had number two. I would go with number one, and it ends up being the same money after expenses. But this guy was like, when you have a bad sales month with overheads of 20 staff, it eats all your profits from the previous month. Have a couple months of sales slump, you're in big trouble. So I mean, I couldn't imagine having that kind of stress on my back of knowing like, oh man, we've got 20 people that I need to go pay salary or commission or whatever, and we just don't have a good month of sales, a bunch of clients leave, your stress level is going to go through the roof, and now it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to go fire someone 1 month because you just had a terrible month, or terrible 2 months, now that guy's going to be let go, or their salary is going to be reduced? I mean, this happened to me when I was working in an agency 3-4 years ago. We lost like a bunch of clients. I remember the owner called me and the other account manager into his office, and he literally told us he was going to have to decrease our salaries if this continued going the way it was. Like, he was just so irate, like, oh my God, all our clients, they're leaving, you know, like, because they were all getting terrible results. They're all pissed off. Nobody was communicating with them properly. And yeah, a bunch of people were just leaving. They were dissatisfied. So when you lose, like, let's say 3 or 4 clients and they're each paying $1,000 a month, that's like a person's salary. So yeah, this guy was like so stressed out all the time. It was just, I don't know, it was unreal. Like, it just didn't seem like something that I would ever want to have to handle or be in a situation to deal with. So we had a bunch more here. I've done both. There's a good hybrid, number one, done both. I'm back at one, it's much better. But I want to grow soon and make it profitable. I take the first, however, could handle 30K a month with 2 people. Like, so I don't know, people are trying to modify it. It's like drop shipping. Scenario one, if you're 10K smoothly, getting 30K just means scaling up a couple of your activities slightly. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I thought this would be really interesting. If you guys couldn't tell, as I've been going through this, I am number one all the way. That is pretty much how I run my business now. I have a whole bunch of clients. I have outsourced vendors and partners that I vetted. I spent a lot of time, you know, going out there and figuring out like, what is the best way I can handle this? Who are partners or people that I could team up with? And how could I basically become a highly paid consultant? So if I go out there and sell a $4,000 SEO deal, make an introduction, bring them into another vendor partner of mine, have the client be aware that they're part of it. It's not like some white label BS. I basically come in, have my vendor really taking over the whole project, and that vendor continues to pay me recurring commissions every time the client pays. I now go out and get, let's say, 10 of those, right? If they're high ticket deals between $2,000 and $4,000, which I've done, many of which I have still running right now, you could easily bring in, you know, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 a month if you continue to build this up and grow it. So yeah, if you guys are interested in learning about how to do this, again, I invite you to check the link below. I'm actually going to leave a link to download my ebook where I go over my client acquisition guide, which is definitely my number one recommendation, is focusing on getting clients and outsourcing and finding vendors. And I invite you to jump on a phone call with me if you're really interested in learning how can I go out there and basically get myself in a position where I could grow a number one style business. Then I'd be happy to jump on a call with you and tell you a little bit more about my coaching program, where I'll get on basically coaching calls with you over an 8-week period, and we can pretty much get you to a point where you're going out there and learning this stuff. I'll even share with you some of my sales calls where I'm closing $4,000 SEO clients. So you could do some of that same stuff and learn from the things that I've done, what's working for me, and you could now go out there and do some of this stuff for yourself. So anyway, book that call. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to throw me a thumbs up. Don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification, and I hope you enjoy the video.